What kind of reforms would you have liked to have seen happen?
At the time, a more open dialogue with the consumers and with the people reading um, reading the articles. Now that can just be one way, but just a clear list of ethical rules that people can read, and the knowledge that the journalists writing the articles, the writers behind the scenes, are going to abide by those rules. Um, it's not saying that people don't make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, but just knowing that the people that we're watching, that we're reading, that we're listening to, the knowledge that they are going to hold themselves accountable, and if they do mess up, which they will, because everyone makes mistakes, that they will own up to it, correct their mistakes, and move forward positively, rather than immediately turning around and attacking any criticism of themselves. That's what I would have liked to have seen at the time, and that's the reforms that I would have liked to have seen. It's just more open communication with with the readers, and and yeah, just to be more clear with people about what's going on behind the scenes.
If you were the editor-in-chief of a gaming website and some of your employees were credibly accused of ethical violations, what would you have done?
It depends. It depends on the severity of what they've done. Depends on their attitude once I brought it up to them, and it would depend on how they handled fixing the problem. Because obviously, if there is an ethical violation, that's a problem. It needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed in an active manner. It can't just be left to fester. It can't be left and said, "Oh, we'll ignore that for now. It will go away. No one really noticed, so it's fine." You need to be active with it, and you, you need to be able to, as a journalist, sit down and think, okay, I've fucked up. The mistake has already been made. I've got to go out and proactively gain people's trust back. I saw a lack of that at the time when all this was going on. I didn't see. I mean, still to this day, a lot of the journalists haven't apologized for the mistakes that they made, and to me, that's disgusting. Um, we all make mistakes. It's about how you handle those mistakes going forward that makes you who you are. So if I was editor in chief, it it really it depends. It depends on how they do that. If they handle it well, I'd keep an eye on them, but let them continue to work. If they handled it badly, well, maybe it's time you know go work retail for a while. You know.
In the first few weeks of GamerGate, it was revealed that nearly 150 games journalists from competing publications were in a mailing group called GameJournoPros. What do you think of this revelation?
Oh God, I remember that coming out at the time. That was quite a revelation for a lot of us. At the time, it really felt like, oh, we have the missing puzzle piece. You know, as I said before, a lot of these articles coming out at the same time, it didn't make sense. You know, it felt like a bunch of different publications, like independently and simultaneously coming up with the same idea at the same time, and it made no sense. Once we had that mailing list and we realized, yeah, they were colluding with each other. They were all organizing it, and they all were talking to each other constantly. It it suddenly think everything lined up, everything made sense, and we realized that a lot of the supposed independent thought we were getting from all these different websites with all these different opinions, it was not independent. It was all the same. It was just copy pasted in all different areas. It was the same ideology, the same opinions, just from a different mouth. Um, Also, Game Journo Pros. No, you're not pros. Again, just that little sense of elitism just sneaking its way in there. Like, you're games journalists. I that's what you are. It's fine to call yourself that. In my opinion, it should be a respected profession. Like, calm down a bit.
Well, if it's a profession and they're getting paid for it, aren't they professionals?
I mean, I guess, but it's you don't need to label yourself that all the time. It's like the one person who got a PhD in college deciding everyone has to call me doctor all the time, and I'm gonna get super offended if they dare not acknowledge the fact that I did a PhD. It's like, okay, you did, we get it, but please don't be so obnoxious about it.
In August 2015, Michael Koretsky, a regional director for the Society of Professional Journalists, hosted the SPJ Airplay conference. The idea of the conference was to have journalistic ethics experts meet with Gamergate supporters to discuss their concerns about games journalism and the way the media covered Gamergate. The second half of the conference was interrupted by bomb threats, forcing the convention center to be evacuated. Do you have any thoughts on this event?
Oh God, yeah. I remember I stayed up. I was absolutely tired, absolutely knackered, as we would say over here. I was incredibly tired because I'd just done a full day's work, and I remember staying awake just to see the SPJ, this event, and I remember being so disappointed when the bomb threat came in, so upset. But I guess a small part of me kind of saw it coming. Like, no way this is gonna go off without a hitch. I didn't think it would be a bomb threat. That threw me for a loop. But I thought this isn't gonna go off without a hitch. Someone's probably gonna run on stage and say some dumb stuff, or something like that. Someone's gonna get punched. I didn't think it'd be a bomb threat. Um, I mean, the bomb threat itself, I could have been anybody. It's one of those things that gets attributed to anti-Gamergate. I personally don't think it was. I don't think it was the other side, as it were. I just think it was some trolls looking to have a laugh. In the same way that a lot of streamers nowadays get swatted. It's the same mentality. It was just at a semi-political event.
Why do you think the media largely didn't cover SPJ Airplay?
Oh, sorry about that. If my sneeze got picked up.
No, you're fine.
Feel free not to include the sneeze in the book.
That's okay. I'll take that part out. Don't worry.
Okay. Why the gaming sort of media didn't cover SPJ? Um, you know, I don't know why they didn't cover it. I think if I was to be cynical, I would say they didn't cover it because it didn't feed into their narrative that the Gamergaters are the evil terrorists. If the evil terrorists are being targeted by evil terrorists, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't line up with the story that we're trying to produce. But that's just me being overly cynical. Why they didn't cover it, I have no idea. And honestly, unless you've got one of them in here and talk to them, I don't think you're going to get a proper concrete answer either. Everything I have to say would only be speculation.
Some Gamergate supporters believed that pressuring advertisers to pull out would be a good way to convince gaming publications to initiate ethical reforms. What did you think of this strategy?
I thought it was absolutely a fantastic idea. It directly targeted exactly who we were angry with, which was the games journalists. It didn't really affect anybody else. It didn't go after games developers. It didn't go after random people on Twitter. It directly attacked who we were upset with. I think it was great, and it cost BuzzFeed a lot of money, so I see it as an overall success. Um, it was a fantastic idea by a lot of very smart people.
Do you support contacting advertisers over ethical violations only, or would you also support using the tactic over opinion pieces that you don't agree with?
No, ethical violations, I think, would be where I draw my line. Having a different opinion to somebody else, that's you get over yourself. People have different opinions. Have a good debate and see who comes out on top in that. That's what you do with a difference of opinion or a difference in values. You have a debate, you have a conversation. Hitting someone's wallet isn't going to convince them that you're right. It's just going to convince them to shut up. Um, Ethical violations, though, breaking rules, it's more easily measured. It's more easily like, well, if A then B, you fucked up here, therefore you lose some money. It's the same way that if I mess up in my job, I might end up losing some wages that month because, well, I cost the business money. So, I mean, that's only right. That's only fair. Um, it's just that applied to large media conglomerates. So no, I don't think you should go after someone's wallet for their opinion. It won't convince them that you're right. It'll just convince them to shut up.
Now, as you say, these are companies. They care about money more than anything else. So, do you think that by attacking their money, that you made it less likely for them to come to the table and have a conversation because they felt like you were going after their income
Oh,
of profit?
100%. But at that point, the table was already there, laid out, and we'd invited them. They didn't want the conversation. That choice had been made by that point. They'd already decided that they did not want the conversation. Um, so that was the only recourse, really, that we had was to go after the wallet. 100%, it didn't make them want to have the conversation. I would have loved to have had the conversation, and I wish it hadn't have come to what it did come to. But they didn't talk, so that's the direction it went in. If they'd come to the conversation sooner, I guarantee that the people, sorry, the companies sponsoring and the companies advertising on these websites would not have been emailed anywhere near as much by gamers if the conversations are actually being held.